job cleaning the alley.
Oh,
You guys are main road, secondary road.
Hi, Jeff. Good evening.
Hey, Jeff.
hey.
A ton of complaints from people whose driveway caught the snow that we're clearing from the street.
I mean,
What can you do about it?
Yeah.
Ever since I've,
That's when you get a
ever
shovel
since
and
I
you
was
shovel
little,
the
you
spot.
just, that happens.
Yeah.
You just get out there and chip it away, and
I had to do that yesterday.
Yep, I had to do it.
I did it too. Or I called Platinum Pools, and they did most of it. That wasn't bad, $30 to push all that stuff up into my yard so we could park.
$30, that's
I'll remember
it?
that next time, because he does
Dang.
ours at the post office.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got some other stories, but since the mic is hot, I'm off.
We're recording at 6.
Uh-oh. Comes the word.
Okay. All right, do you wanna, since it is 6 o'clock, should we go ahead and get started? You wanna do roll call, Jamie?
Bridget Kelch,
Here?
Joe McGowan,
Here.
Brian Bogue, Rick Hop,
Here.
Deanna Fitzgerald,
Here,
Andrew Cleary, Tim Pepsel,
Here?
Tyler King,
Here.
Jeff Patke,
Here.
Mark Hydridge, Sarah Skeen.
here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How many, you probably have had a moment where you've said the pledge multiple times in a day.
Oh, yeah.
Wonder what the record is.
The best one is the meeting in April when you, what do? Solidify the votes, and you have another second meeting, and then you have a, workshop meeting. Yeah, it happens.
Pledge it all up.
It's all good. The pledge is a good thing to say.
Yes. All right. And I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from November.
So move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's passed. Okay. So new business, so no new reviews since November.
We haven't had any.
Yep, sounds about right. All right, discussion items. So we're trying out monthly. What does everybody think about that?
It's fine.
Yep.
Fine? Okay.
Good with that.
Have you heard from those that aren't here that they, did they get back to you at all to say, I can't make it?
Only Andrew did. His kid had one of his kids, or both of them had a basketball game. That's all I.
Like a tournament all week
on
long,
that
yeah.
didn't show.
Okay. All right.
On that topic, Mrs. President,
Oh.
due to our fellow member, Tim Pepsel, being elected to the council in April, we will have another seat to fill. So keep that in mind, as the quorums will be tougher to fill. So congratulations, Tim, and
Thank you.
maybe the mayor has something in the works as far as that goes.
I'm working on it.
Good.
And seriously, Jeff is right. If you have any suggestions, right away, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had talked about in the past, maybe Katie Dickhouse, being Katie, I don't know if,
She doesn't live in the city limits. I thought of her immediately
Oh,
too,
okay.
but I think she lives out in Croco now.
okay.
But I can double check, but I'm
Yep.
pretty sure she lives in Croco now. So she's out of city limits. Yeah. But we can keep thinking.
Yeah, I'll
But that
think
was a
on
good one.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one is talking about in-person design reviews instead of email, and that's fine with me. When we were, my previous time on the commission, we met monthly and we did email reviews, when necessary. And that was something that we allowed staff, to decide if it was something that was just, came in the day after our meeting, and then they would have to wait a whole nother 30 days. We never wanted to impede progress. So that's something that we can talk about. If it wasn't a big deal, we would always prefer to review in person. It's just nice to have that conversation, to have photos, to be all around the, together having those discussions. But I just wanted to see what you all thought.
And if you saw my email, I guess in December, I think I sent it I did a little bit of research and digging around with Herman and then St. Charles. Both have very robust historic districts and codes and processes, and both of them are pretty adamant, except for one, and Herman, they don't meet in December, which is fine, because it's pretty slow then, but they meet in person every month with the applicants. They don't, if they don't show up to talk to the commission, they usually table it, and they, unless it's something real simple, but they want to see them, they want to hear what they're doing, they want to see the materials, the design, instead of just, you know, a photograph that you're going to get through an email, and
That's
maybe a
what I
couple
prefer
people
too,
respond.
but I wanted to see what everyone thought about that.
I know, just being relatively new, I mean, because within the year, only 4 meetings, and if I missed one, 3. So this is probably my 4th or 5th meeting. But anyway, I mean, just seeing those emails, it was overwhelming to like know what in the world we were doing.
Right.
You know, not knowing even what I'm supposed to be doing. So, yeah, so just seeing all those and then not having the discussion around them and getting to learn about that.
I think it's better to be in person too. I'll be honest, even with my experience, previously I would wait till Steve Struberg emailed. I'd be like, yeah, and now I'm like, let's see what Joe says, you know? So just because, you know, the breadth of their education,
Right.
you know, is very deep. So I think, yeah, I would, I guess we could say if, you know, if just something really odd happened, you know, if staff really felt it was necessary, you know, we could even we've had special meetings too, where we just came up.
Right.
Does something have to change in order for us to require these folks to show up? I mean, no? I
So,
mean,
yeah, it's,
Preference of the board.
right, and it's not in the code for either one of the other entities, that's just their process. They don't have it codified, so we don't necessarily have to either.
I'd be in favor of that. I think more people would be in tune to listen when they're sitting in front of a committee like this, as opposed to, you know, see it in writing, well, you can't do this, or where we can suggest to them, because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and that was one of my other questions was, because you had brought up requiring them, you know, as opposed to just being a suggestion, requiring them to make the changes as requested. They, you know, both St. Charles and Herman have that, where, you know, you have to be approved before you can get a building permit. And if they don't like what you're doing, you don't go any further until you make those changes. So how much more work was that, you know? So not really a lot of work. They actually want to listen to what we have to say, and then they do make those changes, and then we come to a compromise, and then we approve it and move on, you know? So there's a lot more work on the applicant's end, you know, to make sure that they're meeting the specifications that historic preservation is requiring. But as opposed to the commission, they said they rarely have any extra work to do. So it sounds like a win-win.
Okay.
So then
Sounds
if
like-
someone applies for a building permit or renovation permit or anything like that, and it's in a historic building, then it comes to this board before we give building permit approval, is that right?
Correct. For
It is the
exterior,
Review district. It's
Yeah.
only the review district. Just because it's historic building doesn't mean it'll be.
Okay,
In the
that was my
review
question,
district,
then
yeah.
where, and you know that when they line,
Well, yeah.
if they apply, who needs to
Right.
come before the board?
yeah, it goes through a building permit application, and Jamie,
Is it just the C3 district, or I can't remember if we expanded it off the C3? Did we go up to 5th?
Well, there was some confusion at our last meeting, and we spoke to Darren about that, how the code is kind of confusing. It could be either way. It could be any historic district or just the design review, which is mostly the downtown area. I don't know did you hear back from Darren on that one?
I
clarifying
don't,
the code?
yeah, I don't think we
My
pursued that.
previous recollection is just the design review district.
Yes.
And I think we set that as front to 5th and then roughly market to Cedar, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a map like
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
colors
there's a
on it.
map on, online.
Yeah, because the C3 doesn't go up, the C3 district doesn't go up to 5th. It
Right.
stops at like 3rd.
Yeah.
My suggestion on that is we should clarify it, because I get calls quite often of why did this get allowed? Why did this not get allowed? What are the boundaries, right? So I think we definitely need to clarify that.
The code can be interpreted either way,
Yeah.
depending on what spot you look in.
Okay.
And again, I guess, why would we stop at the review area? I mean, take for instance, the Bush House, if the VFW would move That's a historic building that if someone wanted to buy that and renovate that, that you would think you would want to talk about through this board.
Totally would. I love that you said that, Jeff. That's no, and that is,
It's not in any district.
it's not in any district, and it's not even listed on the National Register of Historic Places, because they wouldn't sign off on it many moons ago.
The
for it to be
VFW hall
listed.
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I mean, that's gonna
Yeah,
happen in the near
so
future.
you could, I mean, that would require, I mean, I'm all about this. I would love to be able to, you know, share education and experience with any of our historic structures. Typically, that's done within districts like they're
Which part
showing.
are they-
But
Is this
for the longest time, it has just really been, like I said, Front to Fifth, Market to Cedar. And you can see a big chunk of that's not even in a district.
Right.
so.
Well, I turned a layer off,
Oh, she's got it on the screen now.
yeah.
Okay,
I was just trying to bring so the historic districts are there, I was just trying to bring the design review area to attention a little bit better, but, because it's overlaid with the districts themselves. But yeah, so it's that black outline,
That's the current district that,
Yeah.
that you guys are working from, correct, Jamie?
so does that currently happen where when they go for a building permit that, and they're in that district, that you send it to us, or that doesn't happen yet?
I'm sorry, I was so looking at this.
Does it currently happen that when a house applies for a building permit within that area, that it automatically comes here, or it just gets approved?
No, it goes through the email chain is what you've been getting.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
If they need a permit, if they're just painting their house or things that don't require permits, then they don't have to come before the board currently.
If I'm not mistaken, so you see the royal blue at the bottom, so I wanna say all the buildings but the house are in that district.
Okay.
Cause I remember hearing that initially that the VFW, they were concerned about what the rules were for, this was like 20-plus years ago, that they didn't actually sign. So I bet the house is not even in that district, but
It's
I'd wanna
not,
check.
this dark blue color is the
The buildings.
brewery.
Okay,
And it would be this color right here. Yeah, John B. Bush Historic District, so it's on its own. The light baby blue color with the black outline, that's your design review area. So,
yeah.
I'm kind of outlining that there. So it doesn't encompass all of the districts. So it's Olive, Stafford, and,
It does say on the application, though, what district are you in?
right, it does say that.
Yeah. It would be nice to review, I mean, all the districts, but that's more than what we have been doing historically.
Isn't that something we could cover on the subcommittee if we decide to kind of make some changes? We could then at that
Yeah, a
point-
smaller group, yeah, could meet and kind of bring back, like, this is what we read, this is what we think, what do you all think?
When a building's sold, does the Realtor disclose that, hey, if you buy this building within this, that you will have to go through some sort of designer approval
Not to
to
me,
make
they
Oh,
didn't.
no,
Not to
Tim,
us,
we-
they didn't.
We've talked in this committee, since I've been on there, continuing to educate not only the realtors, but the current building owners and such.
If I'm buying a building, I think I'd like to know that if you're
Yeah,
gonna,
and-
you know, if I look at it and go, man, I'm gonna do this, 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 and then you say, ooh, you can't.
We used to do like realtor luncheons and try and educate. There was, because a lot of myths too, and they really thought that, oh, you know, being on the National Register for us is a good thing, but some people looked at it as a deterrent. And really,
See that.
it doesn't mean anything, the National Register of Historic Places. If you do something that is against, you know, the Secretary of Interior standards, you get taken off the list.
So you
It is
just change the
only
status
if-
of the place.
Mhm.
Okay.
It is only if there are local ordinances in place that
Right,
something.
that you
So
can-
right now, like, there's only three
Three,
buildings. Well, I didn't know if we could do the cabin or not. We did?
that's on there.
Okay. There are only three buildings that can't be torn down, unless this commission approves it. And then the rest are just mandatory review, voluntary compliance in the design review district. And then those other districts we haven't been reviewing, like Stafford and Locust, you know, it's no different than if you're not in a district, really.
So if somebody wanted to buy the corncob pipe factory and knock it down, there's nothing preventing them from doing so. Is that right?
If it falls within the design review, we have to, with a demo, I think we give the recommendation on demos.
Still a recommendation.
But it's only
But it's,
recommendation.
yeah.
Okay.
That they've
They
come,
they
we
still have
said,
to come in front
don't
of
tear
us.
it down.
Right.
And they said, okay, we heard you, we're gonna go tear it down.
Yeah.
And then they tear it down.
Does the
No.
does the city commission have any power there either?
No.
No.
We're what we call mandatory review, voluntary compliance. It's more of an educational board at this point.
So if you did go to the path of a Herman or a St. Charles, that's mandatory review, mandatory compliance. So that is what they call having teeth. And then your teeth
Need
are
some
saying,
teeth?
no, you can't. I mean, yeah, you own it, but you can't tear it down.
Unless they're using grant money or public funding, then it's mandatory review, mandatory compliance.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm saying it. If we get these people here in front of us, instead of sending in a application, and they sit and we can discuss it with them, reality versus what they think they want to do. But the problem is getting them here, because a lot of these people just do it.
Yeah.
They paint their building, and
Paint is not a building permit.
I know.
Yeah, I will very much caution us, that's pretty far. That's some good teeth, that's a lot. So I don't know if I'm comfortable saying mandatory paint colors. That's big. I know why, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, in the world of historic preservation commissions, when you go, we have to walk before we can run.
I mean, we have the
Yeah,
design
but you can't just
guidebook.
paint your building in St. Charles without, you can't just go and paint it bright yellow if it's in a certain district, can you?
I don't know, I'd have to read their code. I meant to read it, I said, but I
Yeah.
didn't get to it.
Yeah, I didn't read it either.
But to Rick's point, we have the design guidebook. And that should be our tool that we use.
And there's a palette in
There's a
there.
color
Correct,
palette in there, which
correct.
is.
But
and
getting them
brought in.
here
Yeah.
and just continuing the education, that's what we need to do,
Yeah.
truthfully.
that's what I'm saying. If we can get them, I mean, they don't have that book,
No.
you know?
I mean, I've suggested when giving building permits if we give that out, that would be fantastic, but that's more work on staff, number one. We have that information on the website. Sarah's been great about putting different maintenance flyers on the website. I mean, the education is there. It's just getting them to actually look at it and dive into it. I mean, I still get calls when people, ask me certain random things. I'll send them the color palettes. Here's your suggestions. Ultimately, they can paint it green if they want to,
They
so,
sure can.
And they have.
and they have.
They have.
Luckily, it's fading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But I think still too, sorry, one more point, that if they get in front of us and here, we've seen this in the past, and we've seen that in council meetings, I've seen it in planning and zoning, I've seen it in other things where, they come here with, they think what they have in their mind, that they're gonna do this building, and the board suggests something, this is what the original look was, stick with this, and we've changed minds, you just have to get them here.
We have.
And that's
Yeah,
right. And
yes.
it's, and like painting the side of a building, and then you stick someone like my brother on them and tell them, don't paint that brick because this is your repercussions. And someone, an
Have to pay
education.
me a lot of money one day.
Well, they're educated to know that that's not the right thing to do, and then we're helping them out. We're not trying to hinder anybody.
No.
We're trying to help
You
every
tell them
single
what they
one here.
can do.
It does appear like we're hindering when you're gonna hold them back from a building permit,
You can
but
help them to know what they can do that's better
again,
than
it's
what
an
they're gonna do.
education item on what we're looking for. Again, I'm with Rick, to have teeth and to be mandatory is strong, I get it, but I think the first step is get every one of those applicants here in front of the board to get their blessing before it goes to the building permit.
Yeah.
And then you can start from there and know that, again, we've solved those few issues before, it can happen again.
We've been successful.
But we haven't had anyone come to this pulpit since I've been sitting here for a year.
No.
Okay.
Last 5 years, really.
Right.
So we're all in favor of in-person reviews.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does that need to be a motion?
Vote on that.
Do we have to vote, or what do you think?
No, this is just personal preference for the board.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm gonna skip C and go into D. So what are the rules? If we have a subcommittee meeting, does it have to be televised?
I asked that. What about the
What's
sunshine
the
law?
rule?
Yeah, subcommittee, Darren said a subcommittee would not have to be a public meeting.
Okay, so if just a few of us like gathered in your smaller conference room, that's okay?
You guys are fine. As long as there's not 3 council members present, then you're okay.
Oh, okay. That's
The
the
three of us is fine.
Discuss, you would bring to the board, and then
Yeah.
that would be the public.
Correct me
Okay.
if I'm wrong, Mayor, but the members of this board can meet together.
That's, yes, that's true.
Yeah, we just didn't want to bend any rules.
I will ask Mark Piontek that question to make sure, but I'm pretty sure you guys can meet in subcommittee, but I'll check on that.
Okay. And forming the subcommittee, does anyone who would like to serve on said subcommittee? Rick?
Bet.
I'll do it.
Joe?
I'm not a voting member, but I would like to be there.
Tyler? Okay, I obviously would too, so that's probably good, 4 to start with. We can cause enough trouble between the 4 of us. I did think of someone that's when my brain went up. I was like,
Russ Ballmer.
oh, I didn't think of him.
That was the one we talked about. I forgot.
Russ would be too, but I thought of Sarah Understall. She's a architect as well, and young person, and she lives on Oak Street.
Yep.
So she's right in the mix, and she's got a background that is helpful.
Yeah, she's great.
But Russ would be amazing as well.
He sits on a couple different ones across the St. Louis region, so.
Yeah, that's my thought is he too.
Spread that.
It's worth a no, but yeah, those two. And we can see too if Brian and Andrew want to continue.
They do.
So I want them to
think-
continue.
I want
but-
Andrew to continue, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he does.
So, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Say that.
So we'll email and pick a time that works for the rest of us. Okay. All right. So back up to C, holding a training during a scheduled meeting. So I was going to ask Ethan next month if I could do a training. I do trainings for other towns. I don't know why I couldn't do a training for us. And so that might be, I was going to ask him
Okay.
if that was okay. Personally, I'd love to take a field trip and go and watch like a St. Charles or even Herman, go and watch maybe both, watch their Historic Preservation Commission work. I did that early on. I was able to see a Historic Preservation Commission meeting in Cape Girardeau and some other town that I can't remember where we were. But it was nice. It was just kind of interesting to see how they function. We just sat in the audience as just public people, and so.
We can do webinars too.
Oh, there's a ton of webinars. Yeah. You know,
If you're wanting to do it during the meeting, so everybody's here.
yeah, I mean, we could pick one that's 30 minutes or less. That way we can for sure, everybody's got their
Then you get your,
training
Yes,
done.
that would be good.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Tyler and I will pick out a little one, a short one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then,
you should bridge the track. You should just come with us. Tim came with us last year.
that's right,
Yeah. We had a good time.
Jackson.
To where?
I mean, you can, any of the Missouri Main Street trainings that is offered, they count towards that. Tim came with us, Rick. A few of us were down in Cape Girardeau 2 years ago, last year.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Joe, I think, were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember, they're kind of far this time. I know there's one in Fayette this coming year, and I can't.
They'll have a state conference in St. Charles. I mean, that's right down the road.
Oh, that's
So
good.
Yeah, the
When's
state
that gonna be?
conference. Yeah, July.
That'll be the end of July. Yep.
Yeah.
And you only have to go for 1 day. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that should count. So,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
only need, even the free webinars that I send out, that's just an online for maybe an hour. Sometimes they do those in the evening, those count as well.
And we can look too, there are ones that are specific to historic preservation commissions. The Missouri Main Street ones are great. I go to them, I serve on that board, so I still attend those. But the National Alliance for Historic Preservation Commissions, we used to actually be able to go. They do that national conference every other year. So, and I have to look it up. I don't know if it's 25 or if it's 26. I don't know when the last one was or where it even was. But in the past, I know like Mark Hausman used to go to that. Carolyn Witt, Brian has gone. I've gone before. That's great. That's very specific. Is to just historic preservation commissions for government led, and then they actually will break you down into rural, suburban, and urban. So you can be like sitting in an urban session is a lot of information that a rural community like ours doesn't need. So that one was really helpful to go to as well. Okay. So I think if I remember correctly, so marching orders from here are, we're gonna set, the subcommittee is set, and we're gonna pick a date. Tyler and I are gonna come up with a short training that we can do in the meeting, so that we all, for sure, get our training requirement done.
If you do it on this night, just know there's a planning and zoning meeting following you at 7.
Right, that's why I would
So
say
you do a
30
short
minutes or less. I'd pick a shorter, hopefully pick a shorter one. All right, and then, so Ethan from the State Historic Preservation Office is coming next month. So we won't have our training in before he gets here, but we'll just,
And what's his purpose here?
he's gonna make sure we're following the rules, and he's gonna tell us we're not.
I'll tell you though, I had a really good conversation with him, maybe October, November. He uses Washington a lot when he travels as like, hey, this is who you need to look at, what they're doing right. Because I reached out for some very in-depth questions to see what other communities were doing, and he didn't really have an answer. And he then came back and said, well, you guys are doing great. So I think you'll be surprised. He may say that we're not doing stuff right, but I really think
Well, I guess I'm just looking back to how, when I previously
the previous,
served,
yeah.
all the things that were being done, and because we were checking off things on a
Sure.
list, not only to be a certified local government,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also requirements for Washington to continue to be a Main Street organization. So, you know, we really worked, downtown Washington and the commission worked pretty much closely together. For a long time, the design committee and the commission members were very intertwined, just because it was, you know, some of the same goals moving forward, trying to get things done. So, I'd like to see us getting back into doing the curb appeal, and the Creating History, New History Award came after me, but it looks great. And see, I love that you marked the signage. I was curious where that had stopped.
We just did a curb review one, didn't we? Didn't Andrew do one?
he had a list going. There was a property on West Fifth Street that, I don't want to speak for him, but I know he had a list going, and I think he was coming up with something.
Okay.
Do you ever have for other commissions or committees, like a, for lack of a better word, like a Google Drive, where we can always go and know, oh, I can go in there and look, and this is where I can go find like the curb appeal document, I know a lot of it's on the website, but I'm thinking more of like ideas, like, I don't know if a Google Drive is the right concept.
Just for
That's just
Andrew to share his list so anybody can look at it at any time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and other things that, you know, we'd be like, oh, I thought of this, you know. So it's not necessarily, doesn't need to be public per se on the website, but
A working
a place for us to go, you know.
Right, so that leads, I think, into one of the things I wanted to bring up is that our webpage for historic preservation is still kind of hidden away and not so exciting, per se. We do have, you know, some things you can read, and we do just, you know, have a little blurb about curb appeal, but I would like to see us have our own webpage that's accessed, you know, not through multiple links, and then have visuals. So if we're doing a curb appeal award, we should really have a picture of who we're awarding these
Yeah.
awards to,
It's-
and showcasing them throughout, you know, is it once a year, is it once a quarter? Like, even after a year, I still don't know how often we're supposed to be giving away these awards. Because I feel like we have a list, and we chose somebody, but then it just kind of, what happened after that? Did it get awarded?
We used to take photos. There should be a whole section.
Yeah.
Photo. It could be fun to let them just, you know, spin through a gallery.
Right, there should be something, and then, you know, I'm working on that historic preservation map, and there is some plaques that I've identified at certain buildings, and there is the historic, the state historic, what do you want to call it? Yeah, the designated buildings. So I put that on the map so that people could go and look, they could see where those places are, but visually, there's no pictures. And I think bringing those pictures to our webpage would be really beneficial, and then maybe grow that educational piece so that people know that we're not defunct, that we're, you know, still
It'd be nice.
working on this.
I know that I've seen some really cool things, and I think I'll get into where I already don't know what I'm talking about, but I think with GIS, like, where you can hover over a building and it could pop up and show you. We were in a community in Arkansas, and they had it where you could hover over a building, and then they had a photo gallery. You could see lots of photos, but they had one that you could slide back and forth between the historic photo, and then
Yes.
you slide and see it.
That's cool.
And they did it, the new photos, they tried to stand where the old photographer stood, so that you can really see the difference in the buildings from 18 whatever, or whatever was built to today.
That's cool.
It was neat.
I wrote that down, I have the town, I'm sure it's,
I think I took a picture of it, actually.
I did too, I on my other phone, but, I'm really good at taking pictures and then never looking at them again. But I can find that. I don't know how expensive that is. I don't know if that's something that you can, already hover over and click and pull up photos. But I know that's something that the Historical Society would be happy to help with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
That's definitely something I would like to work with them and grow this. So I think you're talking about a story map, which is something I'm working on for our comprehensive plan. So this would be, is this what you're kind of referring to? Now you're looking at my edited version. Let's go to preview.
I'll send you this picture.
Okay.
it was that first community we were in.
So you can kind of add in, click where this little peg is, and then you can look at the picture of it and a little story of it, and you can do the swipe. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Oh, we have that?
Yeah.
Bridget's talking about, it's called Siloam Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah.
So we can maybe look up their website.
Okay, yeah, so that's just something I'm adding
Yeah.
very slowly because it's a lot busier than I thought it was gonna be in the office during this holiday season. I haven't been able to work too much on it, but hopefully get it done before our 1-year anniversary of passing our comprehensive plan. So there's just a lot of different things that you can do with the story map, and that's definitely one of them. So. And it's for free. I mean,
That's great.
you don't have to pay anyone for it. I just need the time.
Where are you going to see that now, Sarah?
This is my,
That's what you're
it's a
working
work
on.
in progress, so it's not
It's not
public.
on the website, I got you.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff too that, that we could work with the Historical Society on. They have some old Sanborn maps that are really neat to look at. You could find, they have scans of those that you could find your house on the 1930 Sanborn map. And the fire maps, the fire insurance maps. Yeah, they're really cool.
Great.
Okay. So do we need to do anything for Ethan? Do we need to prepare anything?
I think we really just need to prepare ourselves for his truth and his, I guess, push from my impression, I did speak to him as well, and he wanted to breathe life back into our program, into our commission.
We're going in the right direction.
I don't think he thinks that we're, not following the rules and doing what we're supposed to be doing, but I think he did see that there's a lull in our activities and wants to give us some suggestions and maybe some training. So he did offer that too when I spoke to him on the phone.
Okay, that's great. Is he, I don't know if you know his travel, like, do we need to, or some of us want to go to dinner with him beforehand or take him out, or?
I can reach out to him and ask what his expectations are.
Yeah, or we could offer,
Yeah. Offer to feed him.
offer to feed him, yeah, that would be nice.
So I can discuss our budget. We had talked about our budget before, and we had reduced, it was like $4,500 for a couple years, and we weren't spending it. And so this last round, it got reduced to $2,000, with the caveat if we do start to grow, our programs, that we could, increase that budget amount. As you all are aware, we spent $435 on the sign for the Comuller farmstead. So this is the picture of it. It was recently received. And I'm pretty sure it's installed, but the weather's been so terrible, I haven't
is.
gone out there to see it, but that's, a rendering of where it would be.
I've
So,
been out there a couple times, for unfortunate reasons, and it's up.
it's up, okay.
It looks nice. I think that too, maybe we could talk about that in the subcommittee or a separate but I'd like to, kind of set some goals, like what do we want to do, and then what is that going to cost, and that'll help us with a budget request, because you start doing budget requests in the summer for the new budget in October, right? Is it summertime?
Fiscal year ends September 30th.
Okay,
Budget for October, be July, August, yeah.
okay. So we can have a plan for, what do we want to do as far as training, plaques, any other things that we come up with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we ever gonna make that a local registered landmark, so it's protected?
I think somebody just has to fill out the paperwork on it. Yeah, that would be, and the city would have to give permission,
Right.
because they're the owner, that it can't, yeah. That would be we could grow to 4. That'd be awesome.
So what are the three again?
Farmer's Market, the post office, and the cabin.
Godfrey's
There's-
Cabin.
There's also.
All the stuff that-
Oddfellow-
It's just the
Downtown
stuff that the
Washington?
foundation, yeah.
The cemetery's on there too?
Yeah, Oddfellow Cemetery, the.
Oh, they did, that's right, yeah, the gazebo, so it is 4 already, yeah. And we could make that could be something as a goal, that we make building owners aware of that, and they could choose themselves to designate their building,
Off the top of your head, what would be the next 2 or 3? Corncob Pie Factory? Or not?
I don't wanna see that go down, I mean, it's gonna be something.
I'm just,
yeah.
are we
One
looking at
worries
things
me
that-
because it's
It's
right
really
on
more
the
about, like.
riverfront.
I'm sorry?
It's prime right on the riverfront.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
You
get
know,
a
with
feel.
what's going on
Yeah.
down there, some guy
Yeah, I
sees
mean,
that
if
big
you-
building, said I can tear it
I
down.
won't play
if you-
favorites, but I think the Corncob Pipe Factory would definitely be up there. And to your-
Waterworks.
Waterworks for sure. And then, to your point, Jeff, the VFW, I think, is an important building, and the brewery too, but,
One of the things that we should ask Ethan about next month is where is he in the grant cycle, as far as, we did survey Fifth Street, and then we could even see about, what is the cost for revamping, the house nomination, because adding it to a district is much easier than just doing an individual nomination. So we could look into grant funds, for potentially looking at Fifth Street, since that's gonna be, I think, a focus for the next, many years for the city. And then looking about getting the house added into that Bush district. So we could ask him what's the cycle on those for the surveys and, actual nomination writing. So that's something we could definitely ask him about. Okay, so, old business. So we've kind of roughly talked about these. We just have to come up with a plan. So what we might do, I think the problem for us is gonna be, there's so many things we wanna do, but we're gonna have to focus back and pull back and just focus on, eat the elephant one bite at a time. So, we'll start with the subcommittee for the Historic District Code changes first. That's a pretty big one, and then we can work on the other ones. Does that sound okay? Okay. Does anybody have anything to discuss on any of the old business items?
What, are we doing we keep talking about the historic district signage, but nothing gets done. What are we doing there?
So I guess, are there lists for that? There's obviously, you've marked the ones that are done.
yeah, you're talking about the districts themselves?
The districts, we
So
talked
we-
about
Oh, the
having
We
signage for
previously
the
had talked
districts.
about, yes, putting signs up exactly where the districts are and using the budgeted money, but that was just an item we talked about. We never fully discussed like, hey, this is what we want to do with the money.
I think that's a great idea. If we have, and when does the 2000 started in October or whatever,
Yes.
right?
It's just
And
short
technically
425.
downtown and Tibby
What'd you say?
are marked.
Spent 400 already, yeah.
Yeah, technically downtown and Tibby are marked. They've been marked since the 80s.
Yep.
So the signage is, but we could start with the ones that have no signage before we go and revamp.
We kind of talked about doing it like the park system, matching what the city currently has, maybe changing it a little bit to make it historic looking, but
Yeah,
that way
because the
people
downtown
know-
one is that
Yeah.
aggregate rock by the one by the fountain.
Yes.
I do like that it has a photo from where that sign is. Both of them do. The Tibby one is in the Kleesner's front yard at Cedar and Third. And it's the vantage point of where that photo was taken. So I like that they did that. I think I'd like us to continue that. I think it really would just take, it's gonna take someone contacting an historical society and be willing to go in there, and they'll help research it, but they're not gonna can't just call them and say, hey, do this. They would like one of us to come in and participate with that. So, and I would even forget all the districts we have at this point. I would need a list.
Sarah had it.
I did.
Yeah.
I would suggest or would like to see consistency,
That's why we talked about matching it kind of what the park system does and the
Right.
city currently does.
or something similar to park, but consistent with all your districts where the signs are, and whether it be the black with the gold writing, but something, or it's something, like I said, just consistent where we're not looking at 6 different colors
Yeah.
of signs and stands or whatever, but.
Yeah.
Well, in the downtown district, marker, really, it's not a sign you can see unless you're walking.
Correct.
No, and it
You can't see it if
doesn't
you're
say
driving.
read
So we're
me,
talking,
but
I
it's-
think
yeah.
we were meant, hey, you're driving around and you see you're entering the whatever district it is.
Yeah,
And
those
and
are-
everybody
they're
kind of
really
knows when they're
tiny.
downtown anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm downtown. But they don't know if they're in a certain neighborhood. And how many districts are there, Sarah? Do you happen to know?
Yeah, so 7, it looks like, with the
Well, the blue-
farmstead.
Like Fifth Street, that's a survey. That's not a district.
No, it's the list here on the left. I just didn't count
Okay.
the design review area.
What's the top one?
The
It's,
Brehe Farmstead?
it's on, West Fifth. It's, you don't see it, but it's an amazing rock barn.
I never think of that one
Yeah,
because
it's so far off.
You can't, it's all on private property and the trees are grown up, but it's so cool. I worry about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know how that land changed when Don
Is it on
Conrad
Conrad's?
died. Yeah, I don't know.
His daughter and son and someone at the house next door, but I don't know.
It's
Next
a,
to the silo, is that
it's
the one you're
pretty
talking about?
amazing. It's a rock barn. It's so cool.
I was always just in the 5.
Where is it, Bridget?
Next to Donald Conrad's house, is that right?
Don
Oh, it
Conrad.
is?
Yeah,
I didn't know that either,
past
so you're
Windy
talking about
Hills. Yeah, you can't, you gotta know it's there.
I just knew the
Is it
5.
next to the silo, next to his
There's
house?
6.
Like between the.
I know.
Yeah,
Andy
it's
built
5.
a couple duplexes, and there's this
I
little
didn't know that
spot.
one out
It's
there.
close, yeah.
The
it's
Main
like closer
Street
to the
district
creek.
isn't a district now,
Yeah.
it's just a proposed one,
Or
right?
there's a-
It
where
is,
John
it's just
Lewis is,
proposed.
there's a White House,
proposed.
and then
Yeah.
there's
It doesn't even show up on the map. I don't even know why
Yeah,
I still
right,
have
right
it.
past
but-
the middle school.
What's the pink called?
So, all right, so I might have,
The
what we
light
can
pink.
do
Is
is,
that not one?
No, the pink is not.
Okay, gotcha.
The mall.
all right, so when we come back next month, I will make sure that between all of us, we have our subcommittee meeting set, and then I might rough out a plan and say I need someone to volunteer to, start the paperwork to see if we can put Waterworks and Co-Miller on the landmark status. Maybe someone else is gonna spearhead maybe if we pick the Locust Street District to start on and spearhead that signage, and then you can say yay or nay, we'll put some names next to it, and you can go for it, or you can bow out, but just to get something going and get a plan.
We have a Fifth Street district, right?
We tried, we surveyed it.
Sir, but we
We don't have a historic district.
No, because we surveyed it, and then what we found out was too many things had been torn down or modified to such a degree that there was not enough contiguous buildings to allow for a district. We could do individual nominations, but since that survey's been done, we've torn down Stumpy, we've torn, stuff's been
I
torn
just thought
down.
we approved something for the Fifth Street district.
You did,
You
we were
did?
trying to make it, we tried really hard. When we applied for a grant, we got it, you guys matched funds.
Okay, right.
And we surveyed the whole area. Another area that's been completely surveyed and we weren't able to cobble together a district, we were trying to do a shoe factory district. But the buildings, the homes had been so,
Did that
Finalized.
officially fall apart? Because I've never heard anything.
oh, that was a long time ago, yeah. They weren't enough to make a district.
Okay.
Because it was too many, like they said, the vinyl siding salesman did too good of a job selling through that area. Because one of the ideas that was really cool is actually one of Chris Eckelkamp's ideas, along with Darren. They wanted to make that a district. And then they also wanted to work with other groups and put together a loan fund, because we really thought, though those would be great. Those are all turning over. A lot of baby boomers are leaving those houses, nice starter homes, but they need to be updated electrically, plumbing. But we wanted to get some of this in place, and then it didn't work out. Not to say we can't go back and try again, but those were what the surveys told us. But totally worthwhile looking at again. This has been 10 plus years, if not 15, since it's been looked at, that district. So, okay. Well, any other business that we should discuss tonight? Sarah, Jamie, do you have anything else for us?
I do not.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting will be here with Ethan from the State Historic Preservation Office. You can let us know if he wants to do dinner, and those that are available, we can go to dinner with him. And then we'll keep you up to date about what the subcommittee's up to.
I'll be there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. I just need a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Is that all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a long one.
See you tomorrow night?